And we're back. Welcome back to the Auto Authorities podcast. I'm Jay. This is Gerald coming to you live. Today we are going to be talking about a market update, but not just any market update. Prices are dropping, and how can you, as a consumer, take advantage of this? Are you ready to do this, Gerald?
Sure.
Let's go.
Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride while buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay, and this is the podcast to tell you what to watch out for, whether you are buying, selling, or repairing your car. With over 26 years of automotive experience, we are the Auto Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent.com. We're real estate agents for cars.
Booyah, welcome back to the Auto Authorities podcast. I'm Jay. This is Gerald coming to you live. Prices are dropping on vehicles right now, and we are going to show you as the consumer how to take advantage of that. But before we get going, I want to thank our sponsors, iAutoAgent.com. At iAutoAgent, two different divisions. The first is the fleet division, where we act as strategic partners for businesses with fleet vehicles, helping them buy, sell, and handle all those tedious maintenance tasks. Wouldn't it be nice to know when to buy, when to sell, and when is the best optimal time for the maximum profit? That's what iAutoAgent will do for you as a business owner. The other side of our business, we're real estate agents for cars. At iAutoAgent, we will market, list, and show your car at no cost to you. You don't have to go to the dealer. You don't have to meet strange people at strange places. We do it all for you. And we'll help you find that perfect vehicle nationwide. Call us. We will deal with the dealer. We'll find the vehicle. We'll negotiate the price, and we'll make sure that you don't even have to go into the dealer until you approve the deal, or we'll even have it delivered directly to your home. And then we have Gerald. Tell us a little bit about Wrestling with Sales.
Yeah, thanks. Well, right now we are on a pretty good roll. We've had some really good guests lately. We had Tootie Lynn Ramsey on from Glory Pro and Central States Wrestling. You can see Zeta Zhang up there right now, former WWE superstar and currently co-starring in an Amazon Studios movie, Cop vs. Killer. And if you go to our YouTube page, you can find an interview with Ross and Marshall Von Erich. They are Kevin Von Erich's son. They are talking about the Von Erich family legacy in advance of the movie starring Zac Efron, The Iron Claw, coming out. So pretty interesting stuff. That's all on the Wrestling with Sales YouTube page. And you can also find the show on the Fired Up Network on all of your major streaming platforms, over 30 different streaming platforms, Carbon TV, Glory, Star TV, and coming soon to True TV Plus, which is going to be a brand new streaming platform and have tons of great content on it, including this show on Shop Plus TV. So you can see it on TV as well. But definitely check it out on YouTube or on the Fired Up Network.
Nice. And also, if you want to watch us on YouTube, you can watch us whenever you want. You just simply click subscribe to the Auto Authorities podcast. We are getting over 30,000 views per video, and we are worldwide. And if you want to watch us live, you can actually watch us live. How cool would that be? You can go to the Facebook group page, click the join group button, watch us live. You can even watch us live on the LinkedIn page. And we have 19 other different channels where you can listen to us on the way to work. Simply go to the autoauthorities.com. You can go to iTunes and Pandora and Google Podcasts, all kinds of things. But Gerald, let's get into this, man. Let's talk about prices are dropping right now. Obviously, it's seasonal, and we can explain a little bit more about that. But prices are dropping right now on new and used cars, both. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But typically, just so everybody knows, seasonal means the used car market and the new car market is seasonal, meaning the demand is usually lower in the winter time. So when demand is lower, prices usually drop. So we're going to give you some really, really good golden nuggets today about how to find, the best deal, but we're going to let you know a little bit about what's going in the markets to make you an educated consumer. What are you seeing, Gerald?
Well, I think it's very true because right now new car inventory levels are building up, especially at certain brands. If you take a look at Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram dealerships, I mean they're back to the future. They have 150, 160-day supplies of cars on the ground. Some cars way, way, way more than that. And when you start getting anything above 90 days, that's when you start taking some huge incentives. And you're seeing that right now. A Dodge Ram 1500, like a Bighorn or a Lone Star Edition. So pretty standard truck, right? Mid-level, high volume truck. That's something they're going to pump out. There's dealerships that are advertising up to $18,000 off on those trucks. And I think what you're seeing is really a meeting of two opposing dynamics, right? There's too many high priced vehicles and the interest rates are way too high right now. The average non-incentive rate on a new car is 9.8%. That's after years of the average rate being like 4. That's making a huge difference on a super expensive vehicle, on a $50,000 vehicle, which is now the average price. You're talking like an extra $300 a month because of that APR jump. And Jay, you and I have been doing this for a long time. When you ask somebody what they want their payment to be, inevitably they say 350 to 400. So the payments are elevated by almost that desired payment just because of the interest rate.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's why
you're
people
talking
are holding on to cars longer.
$700 a month to get a mid-level Ram truck. Is it any
Yeah.
wonder they're not flying off the lots?
Something's going to happen. And I made a prediction about this a while ago is they have to put incentives. They're going to be, and I'm seeing them
Well, they
already.
are.
uh, you could have, and it used to be where you just get an interest rate, low interest rate, or a rebate, and now there's many times you can get the low interest rate and the rebate all at one
Yeah.
time because they have to sell these vehicles.
Sure, because you're coming up talking about seasonality, and it's not as stark as it used to be, but generally speaking, November, December, January, February are easily the slowest months of the year. The only exception being the last week of December, the first week of January, you get a really significant uptick to end the year and begin the year. But otherwise, it's bad. You don't
Mhm.
sell a whole lot of cars. So you're going to tend to see incentives spike higher than at any time of the year. And now you add in the fact that you're building up too much inventory with real expensive cars and the rates are still too high. It almost makes you wonder if the companies, when they were marching in lockstep, basically every company marching in lockstep and raising the price of the vehicles up, 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 if they actually thought interest rates were never going to go up again. Because, interest rates, they go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. Take a look historically, they don't stay flat. I mean, I wonder if it was just a massive miscalculation by all the automakers in unison that they just said, "Hey, yeah, man, we're going to go this way because it's always going to be near 0%. So who cares? We can sell them whatever we want them for."
Yeah, it's interesting because according to Cox Automotive, the new day supply is 67 days, which is up. And that basically means how long the vehicles are staying on the lot. They're staying on the lot longer. And it's also interesting, too, statistic is the average used listing price. The used listing price is
Hmm.
actually at 26,533, and it's down. It's because nobody's selling anything right now.
Yeah, but it's up. That number's
Oh,
still
it's up
up
over
almost
time. And
$8,000 from
let's talk about that
pre-COVID.
because when COVID did hit and prices just skyrocketed, they're on the way down, but what would you say is the percentage, would you say, Gerald, as far as how high that they still are compared to, when all this, hoopla happened?
Well, still the average price is at least $8,000 more per car. The average number of cars sold, and this was an amazing stat I found, the average number of cars sold for under $15,000 at dealerships pre-COVID was almost 50. Post-COVID was 2.
And that's
A
something.
huge drop.
Wow. That's an
And
amazing
I think
statistic.
there's multiple stats that go together, right? The average age of the American car is higher than it's ever been. It's getting near 14 years now. And what you're not seeing is at this point, I guess it would be like 17, 18, 19 cars with 30, 45,000 miles. Those aren't getting traded in. They're just not. So those would be your $15,000, $16,000 cars. They're not there. What you're seeing traded in are expensive SUVs, trucks, or cars that are, they're ready for their final resting place. They're done.
Mhm.
$500,000 cars, send them out, and maybe the little used car shack on the side of the road. They buy them and they slap them together and they try to sell them for $5,000 until they fall apart. That's what you're seeing. Even if you go to a program, try to buy program cards as a dealership. You reach out to Enterprise or Hertz, and you're going to buy some fleet cars, some old retired rental cars. I, I was at a dealership before. I'd buy 100 a month. There's none. If you wanted to go to Enterprise in Missouri and buy, say you wanted to buy 20 Malibus, you can't get any. They don't have any rental Malibus retiring because they weren't getting them, because the manufacturers weren't making them, because they were making trucks and SUVs. So they're just not there. You can't even buy them as a program car to turn them and sell them. So that all those factors are combining for keeping the used cars really inflated, because there's not a supply of low price vehicles to replace them with. They're just not there. And customers aren't willing to trade their cars in right now, because if they want to replace their payment, if you're paying $400 a month for a Malibu, an Altima, a Camry, a Corolla, you can't do it. You can't replace it. They're not there. Those cars aren't in the market. Even Elantras and Fortes are super hard to find.
And what I'm
So,
seeing, what I'm seeing on the advertising now is a lot of lease commercials right now. Now,
mhm.
here's the thing to know, and if you've been watching this show, you already know what I'm going to say, but I have to say it anyway, is that on leases, when you see the payment of $399 a month for a Lexus ES 350, and then you see, oh, well, with $7,000 down and plus tax, title, and license, you're going to be walking out of there with an $800 to $900 a month payment, and that's on a lease. You don't own
Sure.
the car, so a lot of people are going to leases temporarily. But it'll be interesting too, is the Fed is actually potentially talking about cutting rates on the next go around. What do you think that's going to do?
Hopefully, right? I mean, it's an election year coming up. I'd imagine both political parties would really, really, really like to see some interest rate cuts, because if you get back down to like auto loans at the 4 or 5% mark, uh, don't you think it would just be like yeah, like a shot of
Everybody.
cortisone to the market, and it would
Oh
just
yeah.
take off?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because there's still a lot of pent up demand, because
Sure.
you're still, I mean, there's like an 8 million car bubble that's getting ready to burst. Something like 8 to 10 million less cars have been sold over the last 4 years than would have been sold. And these cars aren't meant to drive 15, 16 years. You have a car with a continuously variable transmission and it goes out. Are you going to want to go spend $6,500 to replace your transmission on your 150,000-mile car?
Yep.
No. You have a hybrid car and the power converter module goes out. Do you want to spend $6,000 to make your hybrid go, or is it time to get a new car? And those repairs are starting to come up. And that's going to be another driver back to the dealerships, because at a certain point, you can't keep throwing good money at bad. It doesn't matter how high the payment is. If you need a car, you can't do that. I mean, I wouldn't think at some point you got to stop.
These mechanics are making huge money. These people that own these mechanic shops, because really that's what people are doing. They're fixing these cars. They're throwing money into these cars. They're throwing money into them because they like, I'm just gonna fix it. It's like, I'll throw $5,000 into this car. Like, that never happened before, and that's why there's a shortage of mechanics right now, because they have more work than they know what to do with, because that's what people are doing. They're fixing their cars, and the average time they're holding on to them is 12 and 13 years. Just
Yeah.
like you said, man, you get into that age, you've got price and you've got cost. You're like, you may not have a payment to the bank, but you got a payment to your mechanic.
Yep, you're making a random payment.
A random payment, and that's the scary one.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the Russian roulette, right? It's like,
Sure.
let's see what happens here. Let's see if we can get this thing to go another year.
I think
I
a
would.
lot of people have been doing that, and they've been dragging the cars for years. I mean, that's why the average age of the vehicle is going up, and you can see it in the trade-ins that are coming through. I mean, cars that are running through auction are some of the worst cars you've ever seen at auto
Oh,
auctions, because they're getting traded in on death's doorstep, and
yep. And then
nobody's
they
going
get
to throw the money into it to
recirculated.
fix it.
Yep. Then they get
Yeah,
recirculated. That's really scary.
I mean, here, if you're really bored and you want to get really into the weeds and see how many times dealerships are turning cars, I mean, it's not a very hard system to figure out. Pretty much every dealership ends their cars with a letter. So the stock numbers, if you're really doing good and you're really turning it, you want each stock number to end at like D. That means you sold the new car, you got a trade you could sell, you sold that trade, you got another one you could sell, you sold that one, you got another one that you sold, and then D ends up being the wholesale. So you sold the new one, you sold A, you sold B, you sold C, D, that's not a good enough car. We're going to wholesale it. Take a look at a
Yeah,
dealership's used car inventory and see how many C's and D's they have in the inventory. If they're all A's, that means they're fresh trades. If they're all a P or an R, P is a purchase, R is a rental. You can just glance at the stock number and tell where the dealership's getting their cars from.
it's easy for you to say, Gerald, but what Gerald just gave you is a golden nugget, folks. If you're listening to this, it's one of our little secrets, is we can actually go in and look at a stock number, and usually like a P in front of a like 4-digit number is going to be like they bought it at an auction or they bought it off the street from a individual. But if it has an
Mm-hmm.
A, they probably traded it in on a new vehicle. Yeah, and if it has, and some of the other ones, they may have traded it on a used vehicle. But here's a little another golden nugget for you, is if you have a vehicle right now, and let's just say it's right around 10 years old right now. So that would be like a 2013. It's probably going to have, 150,000 miles on it, somewhere right around there. Here's the most beautiful thing is what, and Gerald had said this earlier. This is a opportune time to go buy a vehicle because you are in the driver's seat and your vehicle has already depreciated and your vehicle is in demand too. So if it's a halfway decent vehicle that they can sell for under $8,000,
Sure.
then you're going to come out ahead if you go buy a vehicle. Wouldn't you say, Gerald? Isn't this a really amazing advice?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think, I believe you're coming up on the best 2 weeks of the year to buy a car. And it's true in almost any part of the country. Those first 2 weeks of December, for almost any dealership, are the two slowest weeks of their calendar year, but they still need to sell the cars because you're building up your inventory for the selling season. The cars you sell in December coordinate with the cars you get in for March, which is generally the busiest month of the year. So dealerships are super motivated to move units. They know they're probably not going to sell a ton. They're willing to take less money. Now's the time, if you're a customer, to go and get a deal, because the dealerships need to sell cars. They want them gone. They want to get rid of them. And if it's the current year car, if it's a 23, they really, really want to get rid of it, because you don't want to carry 23s into 24 calendar year. So if you're at a Dodge, a Chrysler, Jeep, GM, not quite as much, Ford dealership, and their lot looks something like this, do you think you can get a deal on that F-150?
Heck yeah.
Now,
I'm gonna
that's,
share.
to be fair, that's probably a Ford. That's probably a Ford storage lot, but there's lots like this throughout the country, and they really, really, really need to sell those.
I want to share one other story. And in our vehicle finder program at iAuto Agent, one of my agents just found a brand new vehicle, um, kicked ass on the deal. People were so happy. Um, they didn't even have to go to the dealership. We handled it all for them, and the deals are there now, folks. That's what we're going to end with. In the last 30 seconds, Gerald, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, just if you've been waiting to buy a car and you've been waiting for the right time, there's probably not a better time between
No.
now and June next
Yep.
year. Go
Yep.
now. First 2 weeks of December. That's easily the best time of the year to buy a car.
I
Go now.
agree. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us. Subscribe to the Auto Authorities podcast on YouTube. Click subscribe, and we will see you next week. Peace.
See ya.